So we are presenting our research paper entitled Optimization of Digital Advertising Portfolio using Analytical Hierarchy Process-Based Goal Programming Model. So just to give you a quick background about this study, so it centers in the discussion of the internet technology. As since its inception way back in 1995, there were only around 16 million of users or less than 1% of the global population. And it massively and continuously grows, where at present it was seen that there are now more than 59% of the internet users globally. Given that the internet is one of the most democratic media platform, it allowed various businesses across industries, including the digital advertising industry, to leverage on that growth. Now, to support that idea, we've actually included some facts here provided by Google Analytics. Now, according to Google, there are around 3.5 billion searches made by users per day, and it continuously grows by 10% each year. So 35% of the searches are for products, and 52% of the buying decisions can be traced back to digital ads. Now, the top digital ads here were gauged based on their performance, or how effective and efficient they were able to reach their users, and that they were typically charged through CPC and CPM. Now, in this specific context of the BPO IT-enabled services industry, targeting the customers on an effective and efficient manner is one of their priorities, given that they are operating on a niche market. So also, just like any other organizations, they need to work on a certain budget requirements, which actually adds complexity in terms of the formulation and prioritization of the goals. So this compelled us to begin a study that utilizes an integrated mathematical tool to find the most satisfactory solutions on these goals. So we use goal programming because in an actual use case, goals do not proceed on a single perspective. So also, we use AHP to identify the priority weights of each goals, as in this specific context, the decision makers are not really so sure of what to prioritize. So this will help us in formulating a robust decision support tool. The data in this study was collected from the BPO IT-enabled services organization. So as part of the ethical considerations, as well as in compliance with the data privacy law, we mask all the details in the dataset to anonymize the firm as well as its stakeholders. So while they were able to identify the goals for the goal programming formulation, they are not so sure what to prioritize. And so we use AHP to identify the priority weights of these goals. Now for the AHP, you can see the AHP model here where the main goal is to identify the priority levels of each alternatives, serving as the goal for the later formulation of the goal programming. These were assessed using the criteria that were identified by no other else but the decision makers from the firm themselves, creating a highly objective assessment of the priority weights of the goals. So for the goal programming formulation, you can see the 8 goals identified by the decision makers from the firm themselves. If you examine closely, you can see that they look at various perspectives. So first, they wanted to extend their reach in terms of the geographical perspective. They also look at widening their presence in terms of the job class. And also, they must meet the budget limit of 150,000 US dollars. So going into the results of this study, we look at the demographic summary as part of the preliminary part. Looking at the digital ad spending and revenue by job classes, it can be seen that the fintech, data ops, and research analysts top the list. So if we go back to the list of goals from the previous slide, it now makes sense why the decision makers opted for these 3 job classes. So same trend can be seen when looking at the breakdown of customer reach and CTR in terms of the job classes, as fintech, data ops, and research analysts top the list. Now looking at the chart here, it can be seen that ads perform differently depending on the region. Banner ads performs the best in Asia and Americas, while search engine optimization or SEO outperforms the rest in the European region. This only shows that there are differences in terms of the demographic preferences, adding a new dimension on how to mobilize the digital ads, which could be a direction for future research. So before we drill down into the AHP result, take note though that there are 30 respondents in this study. So they are 12 subject matter experts, 2 team managers, 3 senior analysts, 10 account managers, and 3 marketing specialists. So the computed consistency ratio is at 4.6%, which is far below the accepted threshold of 10%. So therefore, the judgment were consistent and that the results were deemed accurate. So you can see here that the AHP has derived the priorities of the 8 alternatives or goals, and that it emerged that not exceeding to the given budget is indeed the topmost priority of the organization, while improving the digital presence for the research analysts was seen to be the lowest. So this result will be used in the subsequent formulation of the goal programming. So as discussed in the previous slide, the AHP result was used in identifying the priority levels of the preemptive goal programming formulation. You can see the objective function at the bottom, and we computed it using Excel Solver. So at the table from the top, you can see the results of the AHP-based goal programming. So apparently, it can be seen that only 2 out of the 8 goals were achieved. The remaining 6 goals were not attained, including the top and second priority. So what does this tell us? So this study only proved that at least in the given context, widening the digital ads presence on various perspectives with a given budget is not actually feasible. The results of this study are an eye-opener to the decision makers to not just provide any figures. Rather, they should examine thoroughly their goals, and that actually takes a solid understanding of the business, how it operates, what is their long-term goal, and their limitations, helping them to come up with a more realistic and feasible approach to get a more attainable results. Now for the conclusion, the application of AHP-based goal programming translates to a highly reliable decision support tool as it can leverage the advertising campaigns through effective management of the limited budget while maximizing the customer reach. Also, this allows the decision makers to reinforce their choices through mathematical model, therefore creating a more impactful and more granular decision support tool. So furthermore, this study highly emphasizes the need for the advertisers to adopt a quantitative approaches in order to create a cost-efficient and more effective digital ad strategy. Now, AHP-based goal programming will draw the interest of the various researchers out there, primarily due to its promising method of determining the mathematical bounds of decision making, as well as the fact that it is intuitive and definitely quite simple to formulate. Now, as a final note, this paper only shows the massive potential of AHP-based goal programming model as it will allow decision makers to drive their business goals, therefore creating a more robust and more reliable decision support tool, which can definitely be applied to various use cases. And that ends our presentation. Special mention to one of the brilliant minds behind this research paper, my co-author Dean Rex Robielos for his valuable input. Thank you so much all.